What's on? Welcome back to the TR7 Skate YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over a move that's a little bit more basic for those of you that are just getting into skateboarding. We're going to be doing how to drop in on a quarter pipe. So dropping in technically isn't a trick, but it's the way that you're going to get yourself started at most skate parks. It's a great way to give yourself speed without having to push. All that it is you're basically going to start with your tail up on the top deck. You'll be stood up there and you're going to be learning how to push your nose down so that you can ride away and cruise off into the skate park. So the best place to learn this one is on what we call a quarter pipe, which will look something like this with a coping on the top. If you start on a smaller one, then it's going to help you understand the technique, build up your confidence, and then you can work your way up to doing it on something a little bit bigger, maybe a mini ramp or something a bit scarier. Something that I'd highly recommend you do before you start trying the drop in is just to get used to the steepness of the ramp and the speed you're going to get from it. Ride up and down it a few times, just like this. That's really going to help you build up confidence for the drop-in because it will help you understand what to expect when you're going to try and do the drop-in. So if you're regular, obviously you're going to be doing it left foot forward. If you're goofy, you'll be doing it right foot forward. So something that I like to do when I'm coming to do the drop-in, I'm going to start up on the top deck, and without using my hands, I'm going to put my back foot on the tail, push it into the floor, and then I'm going to practice just sliding it in until it's in that position. If you can get comfortable doing it with your foot, it's going to be a lot less hassle than trying to do it like this with your hands where your weight's over the ramp. You're making yourself nervous by doing that. So if you stay stood up nice and tall, push the tail down with your back foot, slide it in, you're nice and comfortable. It's just going to make you feel a little bit more confident when you actually go to drop in. Sometimes you'll push it too much and your wheels will be sticking out like that, and you'll know when this is the case because you'll be able to wiggle your board from side to side. If that's happening, then you're definitely not ready to drop in yet. What you want to do, or with your foot, you can just shuffle it back into place. So you want to make sure these back two wheels are pushing up against the ramp and actually in contact with it. And because they're already touching, all I've got to think about now is getting these front two to touch as well. The next step, and I personally think this is the most important step of all, is you have to be comfortable bringing that front foot on and balancing. If you can get comfortable stood in this position without falling into the ramp or falling onto the top deck, again, it's going to build up your confidence loads so that you've got much less to think about when you actually come to do the drop-in. So when you're bringing this foot on, you're going to keep your weight on your back foot so that you don't fall in. And with your front foot, you're going to turn it sideways, try and cover all four bolts. And if you can get your toes hanging off a little bit and your heels, that's going to allow you to go nice and straight. So because you want to go nice and straight for this one, you want to keep your shoulders completely in line with your board. If you turn at all, then you're either going to end up jumping off your board or your board's going to suddenly turn to the side, and you don't want that. You want to go nice and straight. So a good thing you can do is imagine you've got a piece of string that's attached to the nose of the board and a piece of string that's attached to the tail, and you've got to hold on to those bits of string the whole time that you're going, and that's just going to help you stay in line. If you're dropping in and you're a bit nervous, don't stand up here with one foot and then right at the last minute fall into it like this. The reason for that is if you rush it and you're putting that foot on, you've already committed by leaning in. If my foot was to go a little bit to the side or a little bit too far forward, I've already committed, so I'm almost definitely going to fall over. And this is why it's important to get comfortable with both feet on, making sure your feet are in a good position, and then you've essentially already done half of what dropping in is. All you've got to do now is lean into it. The actual move of dropping in is probably 90% mental, 10% physical, which basically means that the hardest thing about it is convincing your brain to allow you to try it, because it's going to be very scary if you're not used to it, especially if you don't know what to expect when you try it. So the first one is always going to be the scariest of all. So you want to make sure that your feet are in a good position, and then the two things that you want to think about are getting your front two wheels to touch the ramp as quick as possible and bringing all of your weight over that front foot. So I'm not just leaning forward with my shoulders like this, I'm going to bring my hips, my head, my shoulders, everything forward like this. The reason it's so important to bring your whole body weight over that front foot is because you're trying to get all of your weight either centered or over the front truck. Naturally, when you first try this one, the reason you're going to fall backwards is because you're not going to put enough weight forward. And people always underestimate how much you actually need to lean. But if you imagine your board's going from pretty much flat to straight down, you need to match that with your body movement. So if you're leaning back when the board's here, then your board's definitely going to just shoot out from underneath you. Another really important thing to think about, and this one's going to help you balance and feel a lot more stable, is as soon as you've got those front two wheels to touch the ramp from here, you want to think about bending your knees like this, getting down nice and low. That doesn't mean breaking at the waist and bending like this. You want to keep your head above your board and just bend straight down. That's going to give you a lot more balance than if you drop in and just stand up straight. You're much more likely to topple over. If you're trying this unassisted, you don't have anyone holding your hands, you're doing it all by yourself, the chances are, and this happens to almost everyone that's tried it, you're going to fall on your back or on your bum for the first one. So get that one out of the way as quick as possible, and then you'll straight away understand how much further you need to lean forward. So it's a little bit of trial and error to begin with to figure out how much you need to lean, but after second, third or fourth go, you should really start to get a feel for how it's supposed to work. And once you've got the hang of it, it's like riding a bike, you'll just have it and you'll start to think about it less and less, and it will become a really natural move for you. And the other thing, a little bit more obvious, is you need to look where you're going. So you can look at your board whilst you're getting your feet ready. As soon as you're going to drop in, you want to be looking straight ahead, especially if you're at a busy skate park. The last thing you want to do is drop in perfectly and then crash into someone straight away, because that's going to knock your confidence even though you actually did the drop in. So make sure you've got good spatial awareness, your feet are in a good spot, your shoulders are in line, and then just bring it all forward. The only real difference between doing this drop-in on a smaller ramp and something a bit bigger, and even if you do it on something much bigger than this, like a vert ramp, something that's got the vertical top, the only difference really is the speed that you're going to get out of it. The technique is still exactly the same. I'm making sure my wheels are locked in, my foot's in a good spot, and then I'm leaning forward. Something to bear in mind, if you're going to be doing this on a mini ramp like this, you are very likely to drop in and go the same height on the other side. So just bear that in mind before you try it. You don't want to be hanging up over there. So it is much better if you can find one, get a quarter pipe with a nice long run out where it's flat ground, where you can have time to slow yourself down. And then when you're feeling a bit more confident, maybe you want to start learning rock to fakies or other moves, that's when you can start bringing it onto the mini ramp. This trick is all about fear. It's not about having really good skill and perfect balance. It's about being able to deal with the fear that your brain is going to throw at you. So you need to learn to either just give it a go and push through the fear, or break down the fear in your head. Think about what it is you're afraid of, and then you can work on that aspect of the drop-in. But the best thing to do with stuff like this is just give it a go, try it on a nice small ramp so that if you do fall, it's not the end of the world, because you'll find that if you do take a fall, it's actually going to help you understand the drop-in a lot better. If you're always trying to avoid falling over, it's going to be very hard to improve in skateboarding. You've got to break a few eggs to make some good old omelettes, all right? Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that I help you learn the drop-in. Go out and try them. Please let us know how you get on with it. I know how scary it can be when you first do it, but go and give it a go. Do us proud, see how you get on. Remember to comment below if you enjoy watching. Let us know if there's a trick you're stuck with. And if you click subscribe and hit the little bell, then you're always going to be the first to see our newest tutorials. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Get out and skate!